Hi everybody, my name is Josh Aldridge and I'm going to be doing my oral report here on John Locke. Now the reason I chose John Locke, it's actually kind of funny. If any of you ever watched the television show Lost, one of the characters' name is John Locke, and it's like, hey, that's familiar, so I'll do that. Even though I knew it wasn't the same person, I still felt like it was some sort of little connection that made it a little bit more interesting so that when I was doing it I wasn't completely going into it with absolutely no rhyme or reason. Even though it may seem like it is still no rhyme or reason. So, anyways, John Locke, he was born on August 29th, 1963. This guy had influence on so many people, so many things. Medicine, politics, you name it, he had influence in it. He was born in a small cottage in Rington, Somerset. He was about 12 miles away from Bristol. When he was born, on his actual day of birth, he was baptized. So luckily for him and his family, they were near a church and were able to go do his baptism, and everything went well from there. His father, who actually has the same name, John Locke, he was a county lawyer, country lawyer, and he was a clerk to many justices of the peace. And he had served in positions of military during the English Civil War. So this guy, he also probably had influence on a lot of people, and probably influenced John Locke in many ways to pursue his ideas and to help him, I guess, grow more as a person. That just had a lot of influence from his father for John Locke. His mother, basically, the only thing I could find about his mom was that it said she was an extremely beautiful woman. So, uh, yeah, his mom was gorgeous. He had a normal childhood. He just kind of grew up with his family and did his normal schooling, and then in 1647 he attended Westminster School in London, and at the time that school was very, very, very high esteemed, one of the best schools in the country. And for Locke, it was kind of the situation where you needed to similar to what we have to go through now is we're not going to be able to pay for school ourselves right out of our own pocket. Locke needed a sponsor to be able to go to this school, and luckily for his family, they had a friend who served with his father in the military, who would he was going to sponsor Locke. And so what they did is this guy he sponsored Locke to attend the school so that he could further his education. And I really thought that was kind of interesting because today we all understand that to go to college you need the financial stability. You need to be able to pay for your tuition, pay for your housing, pay for your meals, all that kind of thing. And it was interesting to me that during that time they had to go through the same things. John Locke couldn't just go to school. He needed to have some sort of financial stability in place so that he could pay for it all. So it kind of made me feel a little bit better about the fact that okay, we do have to pay for our own schooling and all that sort of thing. Because it kind of bothered me before is why are we paying so much money to attend school and further our education? But now I kind of understand that it's something that everybody has to go through. And even in those days, the John Locke, one of the greatest, most influential people around, had to pay to go to school. And it just made me wonder too how many people weren't as lucky as John Locke to have a sponsor to be able to go to school. John Locke had this family friend that was able to pay for his schooling and his tuition so that he could further his education. But how many other people didn't have that opportunity? Didn't have somebody in place that would be able to pay for them so they could further their education as well. Just kind of something to think about that maybe we are blessed for all the things that we have in place for us. We have student aid, loans, grants, things that are in place for us so that we can further our education. Whereas at that time, maybe they didn't have that, and so it's really a blessing for us to be able to do that now. Um, let's see. To get back to John Locke, when he was done studying at Westminster, he went on to attend the Christ Church in Oxford, um, Oxford School. He attended there, but he had a problem with the undergraduate program, the curriculum that was taught there. He was more interested on the the modern philosophers, and they focus more on, I guess, past things that it just didn't really grasp his interest. And I think that we can all relate to that. We've all had situations where we've been in school where, okay, we didn't like the curriculum, we didn't like the way things were being taught, it just didn't gauge our interest. And he had to go through the same thing. So what he did is he found something that did grab his interest. He still finished his schooling at Oxford, but he found other things. He got really interested in medicine and uh, experimental philosophy, and some of those things he that interested him so much that he ended up joining a group um, called the English Royal Society, uh, and they focused on those things there, and it was kind of his extracurricular activities, if you will. Um, we have so many things in place for us to do that maybe to help us get our minds off of the schooling that we don't really enjoy as much. So he had something in place for him to kind of go and pursue those interests as well. Um, he he became a member of the English Royal Society, like I said, but he still pursued his bachelor's degree. He attained his bachelor's degree in 1956, or I'm sorry, 1656, and his master's degree in 1658. Uh, Locke continued to pursue his interest in medicine after that. Um, he attained his bachelor's in medicine in 1674, so it was quite a long time after he got his master's degree before he even got his bachelor's degree of medicine. But he was doing so many things in between that time that it really he got a lot of experience to put forth towards that career in medicine. He during the time of his studies, he met a man in 1666. His name was Lord Anthony Ashley Cooper, and Cooper had come to Oxford because that's still where Locke was attending school. He came there to seek treatment for a liver infection, and he became intrigued with Locke. He met him, and they hit it off, and he was intrigued by the things that Locke believed in and his studies and what he was doing. That he actually hired Locke to be his personal physician in 1677, or 1667. So at that time, Locke moved to Cooper's home in London, but he continued pursuing his education in medicine through tutors and doctors and things like that. He was gaining experiences from them, even though he wasn't attending a formal university. Um, at a little while after he moved in with Cooper, the liver infection that Cooper had got worse, and it became life threatening. And so Locke was had the task of saving his life, and uh, so what Locke did is he didn't get up on his prideful high horse or anything and say, "Oh, I know what to do. I can do this on my own." But he sought advice from others. He got a group together of physicians, and they debated and tried to figure out the best way to treat with this infection. And what actually ended up happening is they presented Cooper with this procedure that at the time was life threatening. So on the one hand, you've got this life threatening infection that is going to kill you, or or you take this procedure that could also kill you. So Cooper decided he was going to go with the procedure. Locke performed it, and it all went well. It was successful, and Cooper ended up being very prosperous after that time, and just he lived a long, healthy life. So it was really cool that Locke had all of these experiences growing up that really helped to shape his ideas and his influence on the different things. Um, the One of the biggest things that Locke had an influence on was epistemology. Epistemology, like we know, is the nature of knowledge, like where we get our knowledge from. Is it from science? Is it from studies? Is it from experiences and things like that and so forth? And Locke really, I guess, had those experiences, so he felt like experiences is where he gained most of his knowledge from. He actually, one of the things he says in one of his books that he wrote, I believe it was, let's see, the essay concerning human understanding. Locke actually says in that essay, or in that work, he says that when a child is born, its mind is tabula rasa. Excuse me if I said it wrong, but what it means is a blank slate. So Locke felt that when you were born, there's nothing. You don't have any the knowledge or anything, and the way you gain that knowledge is through your experiences. And the some of the things that he said, he actually presented three things in another one of his works. Um, the work, let's see, some thoughts concerning education. He actually presented three steps. Those three steps for gaining for helping a child to gain knowledge is one, the development of a healthy body; two, the formation of a virtuous character; and three, the choice of an appropriate academic curriculum. So those three things are what Locke had major influence in, and how to develop a child and really help them to grow and expound their mind so that they can gain that knowledge that that they have the potential to gain. As teachers, as us pursuing to be teachers, I think that's something that's important that we need to take into consideration is those three steps. That it's not just showing up and reading out of a textbook and hoping that they'll grasp some sort of work out of that text, but we want to develop the student. We want to develop their body, help them be healthy. We want them to have a virtuous character. We don't just want students to show up and sit and be bored. We want them to have the right kind of character. We want them to be people that can go into the world and have an influence. I don't know if that's the way all of you feel about it, but that's for sure how I feel. I don't want to just teach the material. I want to help the student to grow to become a good person. And I think that that's one of the key aspects of teaching is having that relationship with the student, that you want each and every one of those students to grow and to make something more out of their lives, and just to be that good person that they can be. And then on that third step, developing the appropriate academic curriculum. I think it's going to be different for each child. Something that I learned a while ago in one of my classes is that there's just different ways that students learn. Me personally, I can't sit still in a room for more than an hour. If I have a class that's more than an hour long, it's really hard for me to focus. And I think what they call it is a kinesthetic learner, someone that that's just kind of fidgety and doesn't like to sit still. Um, it learns better if there's the small breaks. I had a professor that told me about this, and he said that his son actually was the same way, and he couldn't take tests, the standardized tests, because of how long they are, the 3 hours or whatever it is, of just sitting in a room and trying to fill out a bubble sheet. He said his son couldn't do it, and so he spoke with the instructors and asked for the privilege of every half an hour taking 5 minutes to just kind of run up and down the hall and relieve some energy and then get back to work. And it actually helped his son, so much that he performed so well on his tests. I mean, everything he does now, if they implement something where he can just get up and move around a little bit, it helps him so much. And I think every student's going to have some different way of learning. Some people can sit in the room for 3 hours, and that's what they prefer. Some people can't. Some people just can't. Don't like lectures. They need visual aids. They need things to help them grasp the concepts better. And I think that that's what Locke was talking about when he was talking about an appropriate curriculum, not necessarily a curriculum that just you stick with for everybody, but something that you try and make work for each student. And I think that that's really important. Like I said, Locke had a lot of influence on many people. Thomas Jefferson actually said concerning Locke, he said, this is a direct quote, it said, "Bacon, Locke, and Newton, I consider them as the three greatest men that have ever lived, without any exception, and as having laid the foundation of those superstructures which have been raised in the physical and moral sciences." I mean, Thomas Jefferson, a person that our country esteems as being one of the greatest, most influential people around, said this about Locke. I mean, and also Bacon and Newton. But those, just hearing that from someone that we know from history so well, to say that about Locke, it just kind of shows it's a test to how great of a man he was. And I think that we can all learn from these things that Locke, the experiences that he's gone through, that we need to kind of go out and gain experiences ourselves. Every day in a classroom is